truths, but in
I can do it quickly for you.
Let's come back because you just said something that I think is really interesting. So in the book, you talk about some pretty difficult cases, people that really had some profound childhood trauma, and how do they find their joy? Like, what is that unwinding? I have a lot of people ask me about childhood trauma. I've had childhood trauma experts on. Childhood trauma freaks me out. It's one of the reasons that I don't have children, is that, oh God, I don't remember who said it, Plato, Aristotle, maybe, the only impossible job is raising children.
Mm-hmm.
And that strikes me as absolutely true. How, if you have gone through a significant childhood trauma and you're in your 40s or whatever, like how do you begin to unwind that and let that joy express itself?
Well, that's where the Buddha's first teachings are really helpful. That there's an aspect to experience that's hard to face. So that could be a deep childhood trauma. It often is, or it could be something much more subtle, like in childhood where parents are too busy, too depressed, too drunk, too involved in their own careers to give the kind of attention that every child deserves and every child needs. So more of an absence instead of a presence. That's a kind of trauma also. But many of us are carrying some kind of trauma. And the tendency with all trauma is to try to look away, to try to be normal. So people spend a lot of energy tensing their emotional bodies up to avoid what they actually have already experienced. And then, unfortunately, the tendency is to project, we say, to project those traumatic elements onto the present or onto the future. So to be afraid that, their grown-up partner is going to hurt them the way their father hurt them, that kind of thing, or that the world is going to collapse the way a child's world seemed to collapse. So the psychotherapeutic approach, in my view, to dealing with trauma is to help a person very, very gradually to begin to experience the traumatic remnant of what did or did not happen to them, to sort of lower them in very, very slowly, the way you would go into very cold water, like an inch at a time kind of thing. But if you've ever done that, it becomes tolerable, if you go slowly enough. So once the emotional stuff gets metabolized or digested, I try to say, then we're not only the traumatized person. I spent a lot of time when I was younger with Ram Dass, the former Richard Alpert, who became a friend and a teacher. And what I always remember from him saying to me was, "You're not who you think you are, Mark. You're not who you think you are." It's like, not who I think I am, But I think that applies even to people who have been really badly traumatized. They're not only the trauma, And so once they start relating to their traumatic history in a different way, then the potential exists for them to experience themselves as not only the trauma. Like one of my good meditation teachers, Joseph Goldstein, always says, it's not what you're experiencing or what you've experienced that matters, it's how you relate to it. So that's become like a mantra for me. It's not what you've experienced that matters, it's how you relate to it. That we actually have the capacity to change how we relate to experience. That's fundamental to the Buddha's teachings. And that's what's healing.
Okay, that